Okay, now I'm going to re-look at my 3/4 inch hole. I guess I leaned the pencil a little too much. Okay, so I got the slot in. The holes, I can project them down and then over. And so with this one, the counterbore depth is 1/2 inch. So from here, I'll measure down 1/2. Put me a construction line in. And then I can project the smaller hole from that point down. Now with this hole being a larger diameter than the width of the slot, there's a bit of an intersection here where it takes material out of the edge going on down into the slot. So what we'll do is we'll find that point of intersection right here. And project that down, and that would be on the very bottom portion here, just inside the slot. Like so. Okay, front view looks good. Top view, we need the hidden line for right here. Okay. Chamfer. Okay, so now over here on the side view, now we got to project those holes over and down, or you can measure them, either one. But we know they're centered on this 0.75 right here, so that top hole was the diameter 0.75, so that'd be 3/8 in both directions. The other hole is 1/2 inch. And the one in the front is 5/8. So let me get this drawn first. I need my depth here. Okay, and then the front hole is 5/8 of an inch, which would be 5/16 in both directions. And that's going to put a whole bunch of center line or hidden lines in here. So it's about to get really confusing. And another one of the old rules of hidden lines is when they're parallel to each other, but they're not of the same feature. Like here we got, we got two holes lined up together. You offset the hidden lines of one of them so that they're not identical going down next to each other. And if we were working in AutoCAD, we could just change the line type scale of one of those hidden lines to give it a slightly different pattern. Okay, so that's got our drawing done. Nice and confusing, eh? And I'm going to stop now and come back in another video, and we'll start laying out the where our dimensioning and those kinds of things are going to go. Now let's look at laying out our guidelines for dimensioning. And since we are going to trace this over on the vellum, I have not erased very much of my construction lines here because you know, there's not really a need to. But now we're going to lay out where we're going to put our dimensions and our text and stuff. And so as we look at in the text here, usually when you look at the isometric drawings, if the dimensions are on this plane, it usually goes in the front view. You know, if they're on this plane, they usually go in the side view. That's a general guideline. They're not all going to happen that way because we never dimension to hidden lines if we can avoid it. So anything dealing with the holes need to be in the view where you see the circle for the hole. So we're going to start, and what we'll do is we'll lay out just some guidelines and things. So the width of this part right here is 0.75. So let's start with that one. And I'm gonna make me a little tick mark here at 3/8, and then another one at 1/8 or at 1/2. And those are for my my guidelines. My extension lines, and that one comes out a little bit further. Let me draw in the dimension line here. And then I'm going to erase out that extension line there. Okay. Now I'm not going to draw arrowheads, and I'm not so much worried about my 1/16 inch gap up against the edge there. But now I want to go ahead and put in my my lettering guideline, and I'm just kind of lining it up and getting to the center. And draw me a lettering guideline. I'm not going to put the actual dimension in there. Okay, and then the holes here, because those dimensions deal with the holes, the actual holes, I need to dimension them here. And so we've got 2 rows of dimensions coming off here. So my first row of dimensions will be at 3/8 of an inch with a 1/2 inch extension line. And we go another quarter from that 3/8, so that'd be 5/8 of an inch. And then an additional 1/8 of an inch for the extension line. Now the first dimension is that 0.75 from the hole to the angle. And I'm not going to be able to see it from there, so let me project up from here. That one can go a little long. Okay, and then the 1.88 comes back to this hole, the first hole. And then it goes to the end of the object. You see, I drew those a little long. Excuse me. Now let's put our dimension lines in. Be this one. And now I'll erase back for those extension lines. And now for my lettering guidelines, I just center up that, just like in the last drawing, I center the dimension line in between two of the holes. Okay, we got those. And we need the, the leaders for the two holes. So we'll take this one and go up with it. So let's line up. I'm going to go with a 60 to pull it in a little closer. So take your triangle, put it at the center of the circles, and then from that outer edge, the outer circle, come up and let's go in line with this last extension line out here. And draw us a line out. And that has 2 rows of text in it. Okay. And so they got this hole. And then we got one for the chamfers and for this hole. And so we'll pull them down. I'll take this one, this hole, I'll take it to the left. Same way, line up with the center of the hole from the circle. And this one has 2 rows of text because it, well, actually has 3 different rows of text since we have a tolerance there. So what we'll do is center I'll center that leader line between 2 of the holes. Do one set of lettering guidelines above and below. And then that leaves me with 1/8 of an inch here between them. Actually, that's too far apart. That wouldn't look right. So I'll center over the leader line, draw me one long set of lettering guidelines. That's going to be for the 2x. And then the other, instead of just continuing on with that, I'm going to center on the line I just drew. and get my two tolerancing lines in there. So they'll be a little bit closer together. I think that's got everything in my top view. So let's look at the front view. We've got a radius and we've got a hole. We've got a distance from the hole back to this part. We've got a radius here. We've got a length here. And we've got a length here. And we've got an angle. Oh, I forgot the chamfer. So the chamfer we can do two ways. We can do a note off of it. We can dimension it both ways. We can do just a general note on the drawing. Let's just come down with a note, and I'll make it line up with my other dimension there. Okay. All right, so now down here. Because this hole was a 2x, so the dimension from there applies to it also. So we need the radius, and let's go with a 45. I think that'll look better here. So we line up with the center mark, come from the edge of the circle out. Give us a leader. And the dimension line. And now let's see, we've got our horizontal dimensions. We've got two rows. So from the bottom here, I'll measure down 3/8 for the first one, 5/8 for the second, and then my additional 1/8 of an inch for the extension.